Namaskar. Very good morning, respected chairperson, speakers, president sir, principal sir, and all the participants, and my colleagues, and my dear students. Myself, Dr. Deola Shorkar, HOD of Department of Education, Policy College. As a convener of this webinar, first of all, I would like to uh, invite you, welcome you in our
Dula
college.
madam, please start करो.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am,
Am
you
I
are.
audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are
Okay,
audible.
okay, 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 okay. Uh, Now, I would like to welcome all of you. Today, I am very much happy and honored to being a part of this webinar because Department of Education of Policy College is organizing this webinar. Before that, I would like to. Hello, Principal sir, am I audible?
Madam, শোনা যাচ্ছে আপনি বলুন।
Okay, okay, okay. Before starting our session, I am presenting an inaugural song, and I am dedicating this song for our all Jawans of our country, and especially remembering those 20 Jawans who were martyred in Netherlands. Bande Mataram, Bande Mataram, Sujala Sufala Malaya Shitala Shamala Mataram Bande Mataram Sujala Sufala Malaya Shitala Shamala Mataram Bande Mataram Shubhro Josna Pulakita Yamini Pullo Kushumita Dramodalo Shobhini Subhashini Sumadhura Bhasini Sukhadang Baradang Mataram Bande Mataram Sujala Sufala Malaya Shitalam Shamala Mataram Bande Mataram Bande Mataram Bande Mataram. Uh, Today's topic is health and education in the pandemic in search for institutional resilience and academic continuity. We have selected this topic since spread of COVID-19 has affected almost all spheres of human life, health, education, business, economics, all are affected badly. Now, our question is, how will the COVID-19 pandemic alter the future of teaching and learning? Answering these questions require that first acknowledge some difficult truths. At this point, we don't know the extent to which COVID-19 will cause some proportions of colleges and universities to close down or merge. The most vulnerable of tuition depends institution, particularly The ones already facing demographically driven decline in demand will be the hardest hit by the pandemic. For the vast majority of colleges and universities that will survive COVID-19, most will likely see decline in revenue and increase in cost. We hope that schools prioritize their pupils as budget are reduced. We learned from the 2008 recessions that relying of layoff to balance universities' budget in the fastest way to kill innovation, risk-taking, and model. The higher education future that COVID-19 will give us, however, is not entirely bleak. If we look far and enough into our post-pandemic landscape, we can get some glimpse of reasons for optimism. Nowhere is the higher education post-COVID-19 future as positive or as interesting as in the realm of teaching and learning. I will share two predictions for how our post-pandemic pedagogy will be altered across the higher education ecosystem. First of all, balanced learning will demographically increase. And second one, online education will be strategic priority at every institution. I think our resource person will be highlighted in this matter. Before that, now I am going to starting our session, but before that, I would like to request all the participants, please mute your microphone and your turn off your webcam. And now it's a time for our welcome address. And I would like to request our principal, sir. He's a convener of, he's a chairperson of this webinar for welcome address. Please, sir. Principal, sir. Principal, sir. Sir, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, sir, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome all of you in today's webinar, Health and Education in the Pandemic in Search for Institutional Resilience and Academic Continuity. Honorable Patron Chair Nasiruddin Ahmad, President GB Policy College, respected resource person of the webinar, my dear colleague Dr. Dola Sarkar, convener of the webinar, and my dear Mr. Anirban Chatterjee, organizing secretary of the webinar, dear participants. First of all, I welcome to our honorable resource person, Dr. Devajani, Professor, Department of Education, University of Kalyani, who has more than 20 years teaching experience. She has guided 246 MA, MSc, MEd, MPhil students for their dissertations. Under her PhD supervision, 11 candidates awarded, 1 submitted, and 7 candidates are under supervision. She has authored 2 books and 64 publications in the national and international journals. Once again, I welcome to Professor Dr. Devajani ma'am. Then I welcome to Professor Krishnajyoti Goswami, Honorable Resource Person, who is one of the member of Faculty of Medicine under Lincoln University College, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He was also former and specialist in Vivekananda Institute of Medical Science, Calcutta, and ESIC Hospital and ODC, Joka, Calcutta. He was awarded fellowship by the Association of Clinical Biochemistry of India, International Congress of Chemistry and Environment, and Institution of Chemistry. Similarly, he was awarded as Young Scientist Award in IFCC in 2004. He has more than 30 years clinical research experience and published 256 scientific papers in medical journals, both national and international. Again, I welcome to sir. Then I welcome to Professor Shapan Kumar Sarkar, HOD, School of Education, Netaji Subhas Open University, Calcutta, who will deliver the keynote address in this webinar. His basic discipline is psychology and education. Professor Sarkar worked as a secretary WBBP, WBBSC and WBCHSE for more than 10 years. Once again, I welcome to Professor Sarkar. Last but not least, I welcome to all the educationists participants to join with us in international webinar, and also welcome to our staffs for taking keen part in their international webinar. I welcome you all once again and hope you have an energizing and engaging session ahead. Thank you. Tola ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Krishnajyoti sir, please mute your mic. Mute. Okay, thank you, sir. No, sir. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Now today I'm very much happy because our president sir joined with this webinar. Now I would like to request to our respected president sir, Mr. Nashiruddin Ahmed, is the patron of this webinar. Please, sir, share your views in this for this webinar, and thank you very much for joining with us. Please, President sir, unmute your microphone and join with us. President sir. President sir. Please wait. I think sir will join with us.
Please wait. He will unmute his microphone. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Sir, sir, you are audible, sir. Please continue.
On behalf of Policy College, I welcome all the distinguished scholars of the education, those who are joining this meeting and seminar. Particularly in the pandemic situation, COVID-19, I think that it will be long. We do not know when the vaccine will come. So in this context, it is a very grave situation in respect of education in India and also elsewhere and abroad. So I think this is the high time we have to think how we can curb the situation and in what method we can advance our education system in all colleges and in education. So the distinguished scholars are here. I hope that they will definitely come up with a good line that can develop the education by any means in any standard. So I think that this seminar is very good, and particularly all the government machinery, they are also has to be involved to again how we can curb this situation and education system is continued. Thank you very much in these participants, those who are in this meeting. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your giving valuable time with us. Now, it's a time for our keynote address, and I am requesting Professor Shapan Kumar Sarkar, HOD, School of Education, NSU, for keynote address. Welcome, sir. Shapan, sir. Welcome, sir. Before that, I would like to introduce Professor Sarkar. He worked as faculty at IASC, David Training College, and worked as the Secretary of West Bengal Board of Primary Education, West Bengal Board of Secondary Education, and West Bengal Council of Higher Education. Now, at present, he is working at Netaji Subhash Open University as HOD. Basic discipline is psychology and education. Sir, are you there? Shapun sir?
He will join.
Okay,
Just
okay.
he left.
Hi, it's our great pleasure, Professor Shorkar, join with us.
Yes. Unmute your microphone, sir. Sapan sir, please unmute your microphone. Please unmute your microphone. Hello. Sir, one option is there. One option is there. Microphone option is there. Just click. Unmute your microphone. Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
sir.
sir. Welcome,
Yes,
sir. Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes.
It's our great
Uh,
pleasure. Professor Shapan Shorkar, join with us in this webinar. Welcome again. Now, I am requesting Professor Shorkar, please deliver your keynote address.
Yeah.
Please, sir.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Respected President of the governing body, Mr. Nasiruddin Ahmed, respected Professor Basant Pradhanji, the principal of the Plasi College, distinguished resource persons, Professor Krishna Jyoti Goswami and Professor Devjani Guha, dear Dola, Professor Anirban, and other esteemed colleagues from the Plasi College and esteemed participants. It is very significant to find that the Plasi College is organizing webinar and the topic for deliberation is health and education in the pandemic in search for institutional resilience and academic continuity. The pandemic situation has created an unprecedented situation and which have shattered all our dreams and hopes. We are helpless and confined to our respective places, so we do not know how to cope with the situation and how it can be resolved. So the organizers have selected topic for institutional resilience and academic continuity. It is a very pertinent question how our institutions will cope with the situation and meet the demands of the especially of the learners and their parents. So there is not an easy answer to all these questions. However, we can deliberate and try to find some resolutions which can be adapted and practiced in our system. So there are two areas. One is health and other is education. Firstly, I would say that the health is an issue which physicians and doctors can handle better. So within health, there are two components. One is physical health and other is mental health. The pandemic situation has created health issue seriously, whether it is physical health or mental health. The physical health issue is handled by the physicians and the Department of Health, Government of India and West Bengal, along with other states, are combating the situation and try to resolve the health issues. The one issue is that testing, tracking, and treatment. That is doing by the respective health sector workers, doctors, paramedical staffs, etc. So I have nothing to say about the physical health aspect. but we have mental health issues and which have been emerged in a new way during this pandemic situation. So we can see, we can look into the matter so that we can protect our mental health during COVID-19 situation. Coronavirus has plunged the world into uncertainty, and the constant news about the pandemic can feel relentless. I am saying this point that even in the newspapers, in the pages of newspapers and in the news channel, we are seeing throughout the day the issues of coronavirus, how many persons have been affected during last 24 hours, how many persons have been died, and how many persons have been recovered from corona symptoms. So these issues are moving around us round the clock. So coronavirus has plunged the world into uncertainty, and constant news about the pandemic can feel relentless. Isolation and remote working can take a huge toll on people's mental health, particularly those already living with chronic conditions. The senior persons, those who are susceptible to cough and cold, and such persons who are vulnerable. So, uh, isolation and who are staying in remote conditions are uh, facing the music. So, how can we protect our mental health during this tumultuous period? So, limit the news and careful what we read. We have to be very careful what news item we will read in the newspapers and what we see in the news channel. Receiving and reading lots of news about coronavirus has been time consuming. My humble advice is to limit the amount of time you spend reading and or watching things which are not making you feel better. Perhaps decide on a specific time to check in with the news is better. Also, stay informed by sticking to trusted sources of information like the World Health Organization, ECDC, and government websites. In a social network, so many news are coming, which may be genuine or ingenuine. So we have to depend on the trusted sources, that is what WHO, ECDC, and our state and government of India websites. Take social media breaks. Many of our much of our times is consumed by the social media. So we have to take social media breaks. Social media is most addictive, especially with more free time in isolation and everyone is constant contact. So when we are in isolation, we have enough time to spare. How we can spare those time? So my humble suggestion is that we consume less time in social media. My further suggestion is to develop a daily schedule and do your best to mute keywords which might be triggering on Twitter and unfollow or mute accounts. Also mute WhatsApp groups and hide Facebook posts and feeds if you find them too overwhelming. So we have to be very selective in using social media platform, whether it is Twitter or WhatsApp or Facebook. So we have to keep in mind that we cannot be swayed by the information or the issues as providing by the social media platform. It is also very important to be connected with the people. Now, more than ever, increasing numbers will join those already in self-isolation. So now is the time to catch up with your acquaintances and really connect with your close friends and family who also need your support now. So remaining isolation does not mean that we have to shut all our doors and windows to be connected with our friends and family members which are staying outside. We have to be connected with our close friends and family, as we need them and they also need us. It is recommended that if you are self-isolating, try to strike a balance between having a routine and making sure each day has some variety. It is a great opportunity to catch up with those you have lost touch and show you some potential opportunities for the future. So in isolation, we got the opportunity so to be connected with our loved ones, which we have not connected during last few months or years. So this is the time to be connected with the people and make the friendship new. Avoid burnout and get active. With weeks and months of the coronavirus pandemic, active so that boredom cannot grasp us. To do regular workouts at home to stay focused and feel good. So we have to do some workout in our homes so that we can stay active. Do take regular diets, and diets must be full of nutrients and vitamins and strongly so that we can remain healthy and active. A healthy and balanced diet works wonders for our immune system and mental state. Plenty of water also helps. So during the lockdown time and during the home isolation, we have to keep in mind we have to take a healthy and balanced diet, which is full of nutrients and vitamins, and we have to take much of water to remain active. Maintain positivity. Last but not the least, it is quite easy to lose hope amidst the negativity, but stay positive in the uncertainty. Remaining positive during this pandemic situation is very important. So we never lose our hopes and aspirations, and we do not allow any kind of negativity to uh, shadow us. I submit that you celebrate the small wins and continue to see beauty in the world. So we have to discover our small wins and we have to enjoy it. We have to find out the beauties of the nature. So there are so many things around us which have positivity and which have where the beauties are available in plenty. So we have to discover it. It may be nature, it may be the music, it may be the any reading piece, reading poetry, or any novel, or any scientific document. So we have to find out which is our uh, choice, according to our choice. These are trying times, but these too shall pass, and thus it is paramount to carry on and continue our daily life. So we have to keep in mind that this pandemic situation will continue for some time now, and we have to develop our own system so that we have to be happy, we have to be make happy others. While these tips are geared towards the lockdown during the coronavirus pandemic, this should be followed in our everyday regular life also. Mental health affects everyone. Thus, it is important to talk through our issues and seek help where need. Where need. So, in spite of our so many efforts, our mental health may be affected in some way. So, in that case, we have to take advantage or take help of other professionals who can provide us to remain healthy in physical as well as so far our mental health is concerned. Mental health affects us. Social distancing is stressed during this time to prevent contagion. But this does not mean you should stop socializing and talking. It is very important. It is the best way to feel connected and maintain positive mental health. So, making social distance does not essentially mean we have to withdraw, we have to shut all our doors and windows to make socializing. So we have to keep our doors and open to socialize with others, to our friends and colleagues, to our students, to the parents of our learners, etc. So this is the health aspect I am talking about, but now I will switch over to the main issue, that is education. How our education system uh, can be made effective in this pandemic situation. In our education system, two types of educational system is operating. One is face-to-face education system. Most of the educational institutions come under this face-to-face mode, and the other is open and distance learning mode. So these two types of education systems are operating parallelly. But in pandemic situation, our face-to-face mode institutions have suffered most. Our daily class activities are stopped. We are withdrawn from our classes. Our learners are withdrawn from our from their classes. So they are isolated and we are isolated our respective places. So in this pandemic situation, we have to find out the answer, how we can utilize this idle time uh, in a meaningful way so that our learners can be benefited, our esteemed colleagues can be benefited, and overall our education system can be benefited. So now we uh, focus on the education and the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic is a huge challenge to education system. This viewpoint offers guidance to teachers, institutional heads, and officials on addressing the crisis. What preparations should institutions make in the short time available, and how do they address students' needs by level and field of study? Reassuring students and parents is a vital element of institutional response. So for the uh, open and distance learning system, I may say that there are some avenues and opportunities to utilize the time uh, through some innovations so that we can address our learners and learners can address their grievances to us and we can reciprocate. So there are some avenues and opportunities in open and distance learning system, but our face-to-face system is most effective as there was a limited option of flexibility in face-to-face mode. So we have to find answer how our face-to-face mode system can be made effective in this pandemic situation. In ramping up capacity to teach remotely, institutions should take advantage of asynchronous learning, which works best in digital formats. Asynchronous learning and synchronous learning, we have to keep in mind that there are so many flexibilities in asynchronous learning system. Our open and distance learning system, which is mostly asynchronous, follows asynchronous learning approaches. But in our face-to-face system, we have to follow the asynchronous learning system, which are also practiced elsewhere in the globe. As well as in the normal classroom subjects, teaching should include varied assignments and work that puts COVID in a global and historical context. So, in COVID-19 context, we have to find out the answers so that we should not remain idle. We must address our the needs of our learners, and we can reach to them. So, asynchronous learning system may be followed in the face-to-face mode. Finally, the viewpoint suggests flexible ways to repair the damage to students' learning trajectories once the pandemic is over, and gives a list of resources. Last 50 years have seen huge growth worldwide in the provision of education at all levels. COVID-19 is the greatest challenge that these expanded national education systems have ever faced. Many governments have ordered institutions to cease face-to-face instruction for most of their students, requiring them to switch almost overnight to online teaching and virtual education. This brief note offers pragmatic guidance to teachers, institutional heads, and state officials who must manage the educational consequences of this crisis. It addresses the preparation that system could make, needs of students at different levels and stages, reassurance to students and parents, simple approaches to remote learning, curricula, assessment after COVID-19, and useful resources. So, categorically, we must deal with these issues, the preparations, needs of the learners and their parents, reassurance to our students, simple approaches to remote learning, what should be the curricula, assessment, how assessment can be done after COVID-19, what are to be followed after the COVID-19, as and when it ends, where the useful resources can be made available. Preparations. What preparations could we make? Most governments played catch up to the exponential spread of COVID-19. So institutions had very little time to prepare for a remote teaching regime. I am saying these words as because we did not know on 20th of March 2020 that such type of situation is offering and our entire system of education will be threatened. And now on 25th of July, we are in the midway of the year, and so many academic issues remain unresolved, and we are finding so many answers to respond to the issues. We do not know what assessment modalities we are to follow. The UGC providing advisories, our higher education department, Government of West Bengal providing advisories. Private universities are following the UGC guidelines, as the formal examination or evaluation system must be followed. So many foreign countries where our learners actually join after passing out their post graduations or other degrees, that they will not allow learners from outside who have qualified through truncated system of evaluation. So there are so many questions we have to answer. So what are the possibilities? Where possible, preparations could have included ensuring that students have some books, etc., needed for study at home. Abrupt disruption of regular face-to-face classes, the students' hopes and aspirations have been drastically shattered. They have no books, they have no learning materials. So what they will do during this lockdown period? In our open and distance learning system, we provide teaching learning materials, which are called self-learning materials in e-format. We provide the SD card to each of the learners, where the e-content of the each and every course content are available with this SD card. Apart from that, our university websites are uploaded with the e-content so that the learner can go through the self-learning materials as and when they need so. So ensuring that students have some books, etc., needed for study at home. In our face-to-face system, we have to find out the answer, how the learners can uh, get the study materials when they are confined in their rooms. And we as teachers can provide some suggestions so that they can follow that suggestions and find the textbooks and course content material accordingly. Tying up loose ends, that is, finalizing the modalities of exams and declaration test results and reports. There are differences of opinions, but we should come to a conclusion whichever is beneficial for the learners and serve their interest better. So, among the advisories, one from the UGC, other from the MHRD, other from the Higher Education Department, government of respective department, respective governments, state governments. So we have to uh, conclude what modalities we are to follow, and it must be kept in mind that our focus is on the interest of the learners. So what will be beneficial for them for now only, for the future also, we have to keep in mind. Staff preparation and training, arrangements for safeguarding division of work between departments, mechanisms for teachers to remain in touch collectively for mutual support, and brief and simple updates for learning technologies already somewhat similar. So, in this point, I am focusing on preparation of the teaching faculty. During lockdown period, we have matured in the so for the utilization of ICT uh, support. So the the positivity of the COVID-19 is that we are more or less familiar with the Google Meet, we have the Zoom and other platform where we are now uh, participating and interacting with our colleagues and resource person. So we have to prepare our training faculty accordingly so that we can be familiar with the ICT facilities as are available and what are the resources which are available so that we can provide a better service to our learners. Many institutions had plans to make greater use of technology in teaching, but the outbreak of COVID-19 has meant that changes intended to occur over months or years had to be implemented in a few days. So, institutional preparations also has been suffered. What needs time for months and years had to be completed within a few days. So we have to withstand the pressure. We have to prepare ourselves so that we can be familiar with in using the teaching technology and technological advantages which are available around us. Different students, different needs. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the lives of students in different ways, depending not only on their level and course of study, but also on the point they have reached in their programs. Those coming to the end of one phase of their education and moving on to another, such as those transitioning from school to tertiary education or from tertiary education to employment, face particular challenges. So we have learners from first year, second year, third year. So their issues are different and their challenges are different. We have to support these uh, different groups of learners accordingly. Even those part ways through their programs will be anxious until they have clear indication of how their courses and assessment schemes will be restored after the crisis. Many of the COVID-19 cohort of students will worry about suffering long-term disadvantages compared to those who studied normally when they move to another level of study or enter the labor market. So, if the truncated evaluation system is accepted as done in the higher secondary education, the three major subjects could not be examination in three major subjects could not be held, but the marks have been awarded and the result has been published accordingly. So these have some impact in future also. Statements from tertiary institutions that they will apply admission criteria compassionately may not always reassure. The higher secondary results have come out, and the institutions are in dilemma what modalities of admission process to be followed in the institutions. The presidency university is contemplating to take admission exam so that the learners can be selected accordingly. So there are so many issues which are not yet resolved, but to be resolved shortly. Reassurance to students and parents. This is a crisis. We have seen in the newspaper that uh, the uh, the bullock has been uh, uh, put to sell to purchase the mobile phone as to be used by his son. And the Sonu Sood, the uh, Bombay uh, film star, is trying to help him so that he can get a return of the bullock, and Sonu Sood can pay the cost of the mobile phone. Reassurance to students and parents. So some reassurance is needed for the students and parents. Most of the private schools are conducting online classes. The paper vendor who delivers newspapers to my home had to purchase an Android phone at the cost of rupees 10,000. So these are the issues. No one knows the answer. Uh, what is to be done, what should be done. These are the anxious times for students and parents. Uncertainties about when life will return to normal compound an anxiety. Even as the institution make the changes required to teach in different ways, all should give the highest priority to reassuring students and parents with targeted communication. Many teachers and counselors will have to provide this reassurance without clear information from examining bodies and institutions about the arrangements for replacing cancelled examinations and modifying admission procedures. Institutions should update students and parents with frequent communication on those matters. I would request our principal sir, Dr. Basant Pradhanji, you can open a platform where the learners and their parents can put their questions uh, and issues. So for their guidance and suggestions, you can provide some information, some guidance, some counseling to them so that their anxieties and worries and anxieties can be reduced to certain extent. 50 years ago, various jurisdictions created open universities in order to equalize opportunity by extending access to tertiary education through distance learning. Sadly, the current imperative of continuing schooling by hasty transitions from remote learning may have the opposite impact. The open system of education was initiated to reach the unreached. But the present system, as are following by the face-to-face universities or colleges or institutions and open education system, are not the same. Their purpose and requisites and the purpose and requisites of the face-to-face institutions are not same. institutions and educational systems must make specific efforts to help those students whose parents are unsupportive and whose home environments are not conducive to study. Where households are confined to their residences by COVID-19, parents and guardians may be deeply anxious about their own economic future. So, studying at home is not easy, especially
Sopan sir,
for
a
children.
squeeze. Sopan sir, please squeeze. Time
Yes,
is
yes,
over.
yes, 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 sir, yes. For children with low motivation, such homes often lack equipment and connectivity that richer households take for granted, compounding the problem. So these are the issues we have to keep in mind. I think our subsequent research persons who will be delivering their lectures on issues as they thought necessary, I think we will find most of our answers through their discussion. With these few words, I must conclude our address. Thank you very much. Thank you, the Plassey College Authority, the President, the Principal Sir, Dola and Anirban Sir also. Thank you, participants. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your valuable keynote address, and thank you very much for giving your valuable time with us. Now it's a time for our technical session. We have two respected speakers with us. First speaker, Dr. Debjani Guho, Professor, Department of Education, Kalyan University. And second speaker, Dr. Krishna Jyoti Goswami, Faculty of Medicine, Lincoln University, Malaysia. All of our speakers are very special and have been selected very carefully so that all of you can benefit from their knowledge. Participants are requested, if you have any question during the presentation, please type your name into the chat box. We will bring up them during the presentation, and we will also have a question answer session. Now we are starting our technical session, and Professor Shapon Sarkar is the chairperson of this technical session. So, sir, I request you please conduct the technical session again.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
I would request Professor Debjani Guha, Professor of Education, University of Kolani, to address. We are waiting eagerly to listen you. I think you will definitely do justice to our expectation. Thank you, madam. You please proceed on.
Okay. Okay, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Please
Okay.
continue.
The
Okay.
time is very short. May I start now?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning to all of you. At the onset of this program, I'd like to convey my sincere thanks to the principal, all the professors of all departments and staffs of Plassey College of Noida for arranging such a relevant webinar today. I also welcome all the respected dignitaries and participants of different corners of our country to this international webinar this morning. Today's topic of my talk is COVID-19 pandemic, changing face of global education. We all are going through a critical situation since last few months as COVID-19 pandemic has posed a serious threat in front of the world, in front of the humanity. An education system is not been able to mark itself safe in front of the attack of this pandemic. Educational institutions are closed throughout our country and in almost all countries of the globe. Moreover, we have no idea how long the situation will persist. In this situation, the education of a whole generation throughout the globe is at risk. According to UNESCO report 5th July 2020, all educational institutes from elementary to higher education level are closed in 143 countries of the globe. And approximately more than 119 crores of learners are affected. And it is true that the reopening of institution involves huge risk due to the probability of being infected by this deadly virus. But at the same time, it is also true that education cannot wait. It is a great challenge in front of all the stakeholders of education, the government, the policymakers, administrators, teachers, the community, to maintain the continuity of education system. And in this sudden breakout of the pandemic, educational institutions do not have much time to adjust with the changeover. But it is definitely the challenge, especially for the educational institutions, to maintain the resilience and to maintain the academic continuity. In this discussion, I'd like to point out the sudden change in the program of formal education system. And I would like to show how the educational institutions are trying to maintain their resilience, how the educational institutions are trying to maintain academic continuity through this online mode. And what is see at present, the mode of learning, most of the educational institutions use the digital learning mode, that is e-learning mode. They use ICT and web-based technology. And at present, online education is recognized as the core to every schools, to every college, or to every university's plan for institutional resilience and academic continuity. It is now a planned approach for every institution. Now, this is the model of online teaching. Online teaching actually is imparted nowadays in three main ways, which is C. One is sound classroom approach, where the teachers provide live instruction, like normal classroom situation. Live interaction is there. Live classroom exercise is there. This is online direct teaching approach. Another is RAIN style, RAIN approach, or we can say RAIN classroom situation, which is a lighter classroom. Generally, homeworks, projects, activities are given to the learners through live interaction mode, and sometimes quiz or question answer sessions are organized. And another classroom is technology dependent classroom, where the teachers depend on different learning apps, softwares. And in this approach, the teachers generally send some YouTube links, some YouTube videos, which are available nowadays by making WhatsApp group of learners. Sometimes they send PPTs, PowerPoint presentations, audio clippings made by them on various content areas, and then tutoring or feedback follows. This is basically passive or indirect teaching approach. Now, this is the changing face of global education. This is the scenario. Ultimately, we are proceeding towards virtual mode. This mode, where I am talking from my room and all the participants have joined from their own places. Though it will never be the substitute of face-to-face interaction, it will never be the substitute of physical classroom setting, but this virtual mode can support or help this normal situation or normal classroom setting. In this situation, the role of the learners, what we see, the learners are trying to be self-motivated. They try to acquire mastery in skills, mastery in knowledge of different content areas. The learners are trying to know how to learn. They try to engage themselves in self-learning or self-study. One thing is very much important in this situation, that is learners' readiness or learners' positive attitude. Now, the role of the teacher that the teachers can do, or the institutional authorities have also some responsibilities. Curriculum at all level, not only in college, not only in university, or not only schools, curriculum should be revised. There is no other option. And at the same time, emphasis should be given mainly on the conceptual areas, mainly on the basic concept of various subjects like geography, like history, like biological science, and so on. And the load of the syllabus should also be reduced. Already, I have noticed that the ICSE board already has reduced the syllabus load for every class. And CBSE board is also going to reduce their syllabus load. Now, what should be the role of administration? What administration and management of educational institutes can do? Basically, they may arrange for effective use of technology. They may plan for alternative academic calendar, because already 4 or 5 months have been lost. They should monitor the teaching learning process. They should monitor the quality of study material, and effective supervision is also needed. Now, let us imagine that once again in human history, biological science or medical science again becomes successful in providing a magical weapon to fight against COVID-19 virus. And if it is, then in that situation, what will be the ultimate role of educational institutions? Because our ultimate dream is to see our children in the formal setup again as happy as before, either at school level or at higher education level. And at that time, the post-COVID educational institutions must enhance their preparedness or readiness while keeping the institutions reopen. We hope so. One day all the institutions will reopen. And that time, several factors will be there, like sanitization of institutional buildings, maintaining social distances among learners, among staffs, and so on. And educational institutions must give more effort to minimize the negative impact of the long, suffocating pandemic situation. I'm going to finish because time is very short, but I have to mention 1 or 2 points. This type of pandemic we have never seen before. We are not very sure when this situation will perfectly be all right for our children, for all of us, and whether this type of pandemic again revive or not after 5 or 10 or 15 years. So everything is uncertain. We cannot tell anything right now. So finally, for emergency, I want to give one suggestion. That is, the educational administrators and policymakers, they can use this crisis as an opportunity to introduce new learning modes, to introduce quality learning modes, that can reach everyone, that can reach every learner easily at every corner of the country, to prepare educational institutions to maintain their resilience and to maintain their academic continuity. And that's all. I like to conclude my speech here. Other resource persons are waiting. Professor Krishnajyoti is also waiting. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Dola ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Please,
Shapun sir?
Please unmute your microphone, Shapun sir.
Swapun sir, please.
Sapan sir, please unmute your microphone. Hello. Then
Hello, Swapun.
স্বপন স্যার শুনতে পারছি না বোধহয়
Sir,
then I will request to
yeah, yeah.
Krishnajyoti Goswami sir, please
Okay.
start your lecture. Okay sir,
Sir, can
start.
you download my PPT?
Yes sir, yes sir. Just a minute. Just a minute sir.
হ্যাঁ তাহলে
Yes. Hello.
Just a minute. Please see. Is it visible?
No.
Principal sir, hello.
Yes, yes.
Now Swapun sir join with us.
Acha,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Oh,
okay.
Am I audible now?
yeah,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Yeah.
So I extend my thanks to Professor Debjani Guha. She is a prolific speaker, as within the very limited time she has covered so many areas. That is, she has referred UNESCO report, which have been published very recently on the 5th July of 2020. So what should be the mode of learning, and what should be the approaches on online teaching? What should be the virtual mode and its further details? Pandemic educational problems, six-fold educational crisis that have been covered by Professor Guha, and she has suggested for the revision of curriculum, which must be flexible as well as the based on our present
PPT টা দেখা
requirements,
যাচ্ছে?
and what would be the new learning modes. These are the areas which have been discussed by Professor Guha. I think
এরকম
our participants have been benefited, and they will also get the details of the PPTs which have been prepared by Professor Guha. Thank you very much, Professor Guha, for your kind presentation within a very limited period of
share
time.
করছি।
Thank you very much.
হ্যাঁ আসলো
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
হ্যালো
Hmm.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
Now I would request,
Hello.
Professor Krishnajyoti Goswami
Okay.
to present his presentation. As our time is running out, so I would over to Professor.
Thank you for your nice introduction about me. I note my gratitude for this opportunity, but I can't satisfy all of you because the heterogeneity of the audience or viewers, like starting from student to professor. Another issue is now one thing is certain, which is uncertainty. For ease of my discussion, this presentation is in 4 parts. First, we see the overview of the pandemic scenario. Secondly, we appreciate how it has affected in our lives. Thirdly, we understand the problem faced by our education system in a global scale and its social impact. And lastly, we try to find a collective way out and reset the future normal. First slide, please, sir.
Yes. Is it visible?
No, sir.
Yes,
Is
It's
it
yes, it
visible?
is visible. Yes.
It's visible. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
It's visible. No, this is not first slide, sir.
Yes, sir. This is
Yes.
Yes.
First,
Okay.
thank you. This pandemic has changed our outlook and priorities. We are waiting for normalcy to restore as we know it, but it is now, it's a new normal. Next slide, please, sir.
Yes.
Uh, Since the discovery of viruses back in 1920s, we have come a long way. We can now classify, isolate, identify different structural strain of these viruses. Next slide, please, sir. In 1996, we first identified this coronavirus 229E strain by one virologist from University of Chicago, Dorothy Hamre. And after that, this special virus started from Wuhan in China, a seafood market, to world tour. Nowadays, 7 different coronaviruses are existing: 229E, OC43, NL63, and HKU1. Next slide, please, sir.
Yes.
With all of our medical and epidemiological knowledge, virus strains still continue to confuse us. SARS-CoV-2 where power of mutation has overpowered our capacity and to contain it. Next slide, sir. Nowadays, next slide.
बोलो.
Next slide.
हाँ. তিনটা করে পাঁচটা করে দাও, বাস এই 6টা, ঠিক আছে? ওকে ওকে.
Next slide, please, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Nowadays, everybody knows the pathophysiology of COVID-19. It's in 3 stages, mild to severe, affecting any organ in our body. Next slide, please, sir. Don't be, previous one. Next.
Yes.
Don't be tense. Life has become very different. The new normal's rules are isolating us into an island. Man is a social animal, and we are discouraged from socializing. More than ever, we need to a huge community support. Nowadays, work from home, don't be tense, use online services, stop socializing, and constantly suspicious and scared. Next slide, please, sir.
Yes.
Also will paralyze humanity maybe for another 9 to 24 months. Coping up with isolation, instigate mental health issues and post-traumatic stress disorder, raise challenges of restoration of community spirit against culture of hospital and people, and suspicious and future. Next slide, please, sir. This is very interesting. Heat and place sanitizers causes a huge problem nowadays. And also, the use of plastic as a mask is equally dangerous. There might be oxygen depletion, not to mention that it itself is a potential surface contaminant, which has got no standardized disinfectant procedure. Next slide, please, sir. COVID-19 pandemic has brought number of challenges worldwide. The rising mental health issues and concerns are second pandemic for the students. They are struggling with fear, anxiety, uncertainty, depression, and constant worries about future. Coronavirus has given us a pause of each one of us. People are starting from the home, and plenty of time for reading updates, listening to news, from getting information from reliable and most importantly non-reliable sources, thus create an environment of fear, anxiety, panic, and uncertainty. Students are home confined with prolonged school college break, where they are excited to begin their new session at Education Institute. Next slide, please, sir. During home confinement, students are also spending time listening to the news or overhearing the conversation about corona and also interpreting their information as per their understanding. This comprehension of information is creating confusion and number of questions in their mind. Mama, are we going to die? When the lockdown will end? When we can go out to play? Papa is not going to work. Who will give us money? This is very pertinent question. When can I meet my friends and teachers in school? Most of the parents and teachers don't know the exact answer, so they generally respond with certain uncertain answer, and their ambiguous response might be due to their own anxiety, insecurities, and presenting uncertainties. COVID-19 pandemic has not only impacted the physical health system, rather than it's taken toll on mental health system of each and every households. Next slide, please, sir. School plays a crucial role in different areas of development. Sports, games, and physical activities in school hours are imperative for children, physical health, as well as mental health and development. Sports activity inculcate many social skills such as competence, team spirit, leadership, harmony, and many more, which can never be learned completely through the digital platform. Next slide, please, sir. Yes, that's good. Next slide. Yes. Students prefer to go to shopping, movies, and dinner with friends whenever feel upset. But now, when these options are not available, they feel frustrated, angry, and helplessness at the same time. This feeling further give rise to number of negative emotions. This starts overeating, excess time in social media, gaming, and consumption of certain other substances like alcohol, tobacco, opioids, etc. On the other hand, parents were also not prepared for the transition of school to home-based online learning. Next slide, sir. Yes, sir. Movement restriction and home confinement was enforced to curb the spread coronaviruses. However, there is rise of another crisis for women and children due to staying at home. The cases of domestic violence and child abuse rose at an alarming state due to lockdown. Due to lockdown and social distancing protocol, people are experiencing more stress, financial crunches, and unemployment. All these factors are contributing to frustration and aggression. People are not getting any outlet and thus indulging in fight at home. Nowadays, majority of the students are witnessing the domestic violence and living in the environment of threat. Few have also become a victim of domestic abuse. Indian helpline called Childline has received a total number of 92,000 phone calls in 11 days during the first phase of lockdown about the issue related to child protection issues for begging to child sexual abuse. This is very crucial issues. Another thing is 90% cases of child abuse, the preparator is known to the child, either neighbors, relative, or step parents. Next slide, please, sir. As a result of layoff, salary cut, increasing expenses, and not being able to socialize, population is having serious adjustment issues with both personal economy and personal mental health. Next slide, please, sir. Yes, children education has been impacted in a huge way. They don't fully appreciate the dangers of the pandemic, but they are a major group of suffering and its impact. Next slide, please, sir. Yes. Schools are not only places for learning, they also teach children and young adults social skills necessary for future survival. Next slide, please, sir. Yes. Rightly said by Sir Albert Einstein, everybody is genius. In our education system, sadly misses the point and have a standardized curriculum with one size fits all for all policy, which does not realize the full potential of individual student. Next slide. COVID-19 pandemic has revealed vulnerabilities. It has also surfaced extraordinary resourcefulness and potential. Decisions made today will have long-term consequences for the future of education. Choices must be based on humanistic vision of education and development and human rights. COVID-19 has the potential to radically reshape our world, but we must not passively sit back and observe what plays out, said Ethiopian president. He is the international advice for academic council. Uh, Now it is the time for public deliberation and democratic accountability. Also, now is the time for intelligent collective actions. Next slide, please, sir. This is in my mind, this 9 ideas for public action. Commit to strengthen education as a common good. In education, as in health, we are safe when everybody is safe. We flourish when everybody flourishes. Expand the definition of the right to education so that it addresses the importance of connectivity and access to the knowledge and information. Another thing is value of teaching professions and teachers' collaboration. There has been remarkable innovation in the response of educators to the COVID-19 crisis, with those systems most encourage and engage with families and communities. Promote students, youth, and children's participation and rights. Protect the social space provided by schools as well as transform education. The school is as a physical space is indispensable. Make free and open source technologies available to teachers and students. Open education resources and open access digital tools must be supported. Next slide, please, sir. Ensure scientific literacy within the curriculum. Protect domestic and international financing for public education. Advance global solidarity and end current levels of inequality. COVID-19 presents a real challenges and a real responsibility. These ideas invite debate, engagement, and action by government, international organization, civil society, educational professionals, as well as learners and stakeholders at all levels. Next slide, please, sir. Advantages of online education, first and foremost, is flexibility. Students have to freedom for juggle their careers, and obviously cost reduction. Only online education can cost less due to a variety of reasons. Networking opportunities, documentation, every document should be saved in your server. Increase instructor access to expertise. Anybody can access to anywhere. And next slide, please, sir. Disadvantages, lack of accreditation and low quality. This is very important. Till date, no accreditation agency for these online classes. Little or no face-to-face interaction. Actually, eye contact is missing, more work sometimes, intense requirement of self-discipline, even more intense requirement for self-direction also, and another negative things is digital addiction. Next slide, please, sir. Are we preparing future generation for this changing scenario? Obviously, yes. Education must lead, not follow. It should equip us for future. Next slide. Rethink and recreate the curriculum. Curriculum should be changed as per Dr. Guho's ideas, as CBSE and ICSE giving 30% reduction of syllabus, cross-discipline, the domain of knowledge, entrepreneurial mindset, collaborative assignment like live projects with global team. Next slide, please, sir. And this blended learning is the ultimate learning for future generation. The future of learning is a mix of physical interaction between the teachers and students and is in blended learning model. Next slide, please, sir. There are both merits and demerits of the form of blended learning. There is a scope for better information and individual plans. Next slide, please, sir. Nelson Mandela rightly said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. These are the main purposes or driver for blended learning. Next slide, please, sir. This model is designed as a three-tier model, which starts with identification of whatever the desired learning purpose, is then determining the level of fulfillment through evidence and plan further progress accordingly. Next slide, please, sir. Education is the domain for creativity and not the slave of habit. And if education has the user in a newer tomorrow, it can't be afraid of change. Next slide. And again is comparative analysis, the virtual and physical. Cost again, cost is nil, can be used all the time. Flexibility is the option and innovation also an option. User experience is far, far better than others. Next slide, please, sir. Now, only solution is learning management system, in short LMS system, which interfaces through the web server. Next slide is schematic diagram of LMS. Next slide, please, sir. Next slide. These institutions are following this methodology. Lincoln University College is the pioneer for LMS of virtual simulation lab since 2013 onwards. And so many Indian universities also doing same model. Next slide, please, sir. The prerequisites of a good simulation lab are trained faculty, good IT infrastructure, online resources, and a good internet connection. Next slide, please, sir. We are fast reaching version 4.0 of education system, where internet has opened up unlimited learning resources. Next slides. In this module 4.0, there is a paradigmic shift in perception where students will be seen as content creator and teachers and experts and learner both. Next slide, please, sir. But in the third world or developing countries like us, the full utilization of its scope are limited by these factors. Next slide. Now, we are the verge of a fourth industrial revolution which is the only based on database, but also artificial intelligence. Next slide, please, sir. Teacher-student relationship in online service. An effective teaching that can't be realized in traditional face-to-face classroom. Online education has some disadvantage in itself, such as a lack of emotional communication, ineffectiveness in supervision. Therefore, to develop online education, it is necessary to draw some lesson from traditional teaching model in maintaining a close and intimate teacher-student relationship. Next slide, please, sir. This is very important now. It is possible way out. Looking for the possible way out and positive of each situation is hallmark for problem-solving ability of an individual. First is increase your family time. This is the first positive aspect of lockdown that we keep on missing for many, many years in our life. Time for introspection. People can utilize the strategy of self-introspection by turning inward and examining their life experiences, thoughts, feeling as an external observer, learning the healthy habits. During lockdown, people are learning skills such as cooking, cleaning, sanitizing, washing hands, surviving with essentials, maintaining social distancing, following cold cup etiquette, etc. Many online platforms are available to pursue a hobby and healthy lifestyle. Another thing is family cohesion has defined emotional bonding that family members have towards one another. Also can be enhanced by sharing responsibility, recognizing and appreciating. It is important to incorporate family games, family meals, and other playful activities. Give yourself a break, a lifestyle that has adequate time to sleep, hygiene, and healthy food to eat, along with the enrich emotional diet through heading positive thinking and medication, and all the new perspective in personal, social, emotional, and vocational domain will full of energy and zeal. Enhance social connectedness. This time has taught us the importance and significance of our social relationships. Stay connected with social circle, friends, family, and obviously teachers and significant others through the digital platform. Next slide, please, sir. This is the reality. In February 2020, coronavirus is not so dangerous in our mind. March 20, Indians have very good immunity. In April 20, it would not survive in Indian summer. May 20, hydroxychloroquine is the game changer. June 20, we'll soon get a vaccine. And July 20, plan for another lockdown. Next slide, please, sir. Every problem makes us creative. Every challenge provides this opportunity. Let us be resourceful and enter and cater to the need of humanity. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you for patient here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Krishnajyoti Goswami. You have covered many areas which are very much our point of focus and very pertinent to discuss. So I must appreciate your spontaneous walkover across the subject, across the areas covering the novel coronavirus, changing everybody's lifestyle, changing changes will remain personal interpretation of safety, and ultimately the possibilities way out. You have suggested some practical areas which we can practice and introduce our system of education to remain very much pertinent and relevant in the present circumstances. So thank you very much for your deliberation and for your nice delivery. I thank you, you and all the participants and dignitaries present here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Shopon Sharkar,
Yes.
Dr. Debjani
Yes, over
Guho,
to
and Dr. Krishna Jyoti Goswami, sir. I think you all are spending a quality time during this presentation. Now,
Yes,
time is
definitely.
very short. now it's a time for our question answer session. And I would like to request to our organizing secretary, Anirban Chatterjee, HOD, Political Science Department. Please, sir, conduct the question answer session. Anirban, sir?
Thank you, Dola
Okay.
Madam.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Dola Madam, for giving me the opportunity to initiate the question answer session. It was really an enlightening experience and an enlightening exercise to have listened to such outstanding speakers. Although due to paucity of time, we can take hardly a few questions. There are 4 questions altogether, which I have noted down from the chat box. 3 of which are addressed to our keynote speaker, Shopon Kumar Sharkar sir, and 1 question is addressed to Debjani Guho madam. So, shall I read out all the questions or one by one? Dola madam, what do you suggest?
You work, please, sir.
One by one.
Or
One by one.
Okay. Let me first begin with Swapon sir. Swapon, Ramesh Chandra Mahato has asked a question to Shopon Kumar Sharkar sir. He is asking, I want to know the different decision of UGC and NCTE and some of state governments. So what are the future outcome of learner in different stages, which is and the validity of their results? Second question to Swapon Kumar Sharkar sir by Ananya Putotundu. Sir, what is more frightening, pandemic or mental panic? As many out there spreads rumor regarding the disease. Swapon Kumar Sharkar sir, over to
Sir?
you.
Hello. Hello, Anirban.
Madam. Yes, madam.
I think so. Swapon sir have left this meeting.
Okay. Then shall I put it to Debjani madam? That question asked to Debjani madam.
Present.
Okay, Debjani madam, you have just got one question. Juran Mechka is asking you, madam, if the students from village where there is no internet and also don't have smartphone, then what do you think as a teacher we can do for them in this pandemic?
Yes, this is a real problem which our country is facing today. Not only our country, actually the entire globe is facing the problem, but our is developing country. So no such way out. Actually, which online mode we are using at present, this is not the quality online education actually. Only some convent schools or only some private schools where the parents are from well-to-do families, they only can afford online education for their children. Otherwise, it is up to policymakers and government. They should think about the quality online education, which will actually reach, which will be easier and which will reach everyone easily, which will be cheap for all, and all will be able to use the system. Otherwise, it is a real problem still now.
This brings us to the end of the question answer session, and then I hand over the remaining proceedings to Dola madam. Dola madam, over to you. Dola madam, can you listen?
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anirban sir. We had a great session till now, and we have been blessed and honored to be a part of this webinar, and we'll be happy in future we could hear more valuable teachings from our resource persons. It was a wonderful session, and now its time is very short, and we reached at the end of the session. And I again request Professor Anirban Chatterjee, our organizing secretary, please, sir, propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dola Madam. Honorable dignitaries, resource person, keynote speaker, and delegates, Venerable President of our college governing body, respected Principal Sir, esteemed Dola Madam, and fellow participants of the webinar. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of the Policy College, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the honorable delegates who blessed us with their presence and took out valuable time out of their busy schedule to speak on a very important and relevant topic, which I believe must have moved all of us to contemplate and to act accordingly in view of the difficult situation we have been passing through. I must congratulate and express my deep sense of appreciation to Dr. Dola Sarkar, HOD, Department of Education, for having organized the webinar on such a topic and at such a crucial juncture. I hope this webinar will benefit all of us in a productive way so that we feel the need to undertake such initiatives in the days to come. The three presentations, one by the keynote speaker and the remaining by our esteemed resource persons, venerable resource persons and speakers, are truly enlightening and something to be cherished in the days to come. I especially like to highlight a couple of points raised and discussed by our honorable speakers. I would like to begin with Shapon Kumar Sarkar sir, who in his address has laid stress on mental health. He says mental health is as important as physical health, and he told and he pointed out how our mental health is getting affected and the ways to keep our mental health fine besides taking care of our physical health. Thank you, sir. Tejjani Go, madam, it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful moment to listen to you. You have beautifully pointed out the suddenness of the pandemic has led to a lot of changes and how the education institution is maintaining academic continuity with resilience, and how educational institutes are coping up with the online mode of teaching and the problems associated with such mode of teaching and the ways to better those mode of teaching. And lastly, Krishna Jyoti Goswami sir, it was also it was an honor to listen to you. You have beautifully pointed out how COVID-19 has taken a toll on our lives by impacting virtually every sphere of our life. We have one of the key takeaways for me of your presentation was the raising level of domestic violence and child abuse, which has grown exponentially during this lockdown period. Thank you, sir. I also take this opportunity to thank our college president, sir, GB president, sir, Nasiruddin Ahmed, sir, for taking time out of his busy schedule. Although his participation in the webinar was not confirmed till the last moment, but it was his kindness to have responded to our appeal at the last moment. Thank you, sir. I also wish to express my gratitude to our principal, sir, Dr. Basant Kumar Pradhan, for his encouragement and support. I also take this opportunity to wish to express my big thanks to the technical support team for their necessary support and help in organizing this seminar. Last but not the least, I wish to thank all the staff of our college, teaching as well as non-teaching, for their help and support to organize this webinar. This brings, and at the end, I wish a hearty thanks to everyone participating in this webinar to make it a grand success. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your participation.
Thank you very much, Honorable sir. Now here is an announcement for the participants. I request all the participants, please submit your feedback form in timely. The feedback form is already in chat box for getting your e-certificate. On behalf of my Department of Education, Policy College, I would like to thank the honorable speakers, students, principal sir, president sir, and my colleagues, all the teaching staff, non-teaching staff of my college, and all the technical person for making this webinar big success. Also, we hope that the current situation of pandemic progress towards most possible positive side, and with a loss of life, I would like to present a song that fits this situation, and I hope we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you to all. Thanks to all. Then this is the last time. The time is over.